I am your prophetic voice, the watchman. I'm back again. I'm going to be sharing with us on one major pitfall to relationship. And I will use the statement that God made to Job. And I believe that this is going to bless you tremendously. In the book of Job, chapter number 38 and verse 1, the Lord answered Job. Out of the storm, he said, who is this that darkens my counsel with words without knowledge? Who is this that darkens my counsel with words without knowledge? Brace yourself, verse 3 says, brace yourself like a man, I will question and you shall answer. Now, this is a major pitfall to most relationships. And I will capture it in just one word: presumptuousness. The sin of presumptuousness. There are three ways God described sin to me. That means the sin against God, vertical; the sin against your fellow human being, horizontal; and the sin against yourself that points directly to you. Now, what is the sin against God? The sin against God is simply idolatry. When you reduce the image of God, or when you give God's image and put it in the image of a creature, either a man or an animal or even any object, that is demeaning to the person of God. You have reduced God's image to the image of stones, of wood, of things that you use your own hand to create. That is an insult. It's an abomination. No wonder the first law that God gave to Moses was, thou shalt serve no other God beside me, and thou shalt not bow down yourself to any image or any form. And that was that particular sin. The second sin is a sin that is horizontal. That means the sin against one another. And what is that sin? It's actually the sin of presumptuousness. When people don't know the fact and you have judged your brother. When you do not know the fact and you have concluded about a matter. One day the Lord told me, he said, son, investigate before you commit. Investigate before you judge. Investigate before you conclude. That means most of the time our judgment is not always righteous because there is no justice involved. And what do I mean by justice? Justice simply means you have weighed all the evidence on ground before you can prove the person guilty. So the sin of presumptuousness is actually the sin where people assume or presume and conclude about people's motive, conclude about people's action, and that has brought and destroyed a lot of vital relationship. I'm going to be going deeper into this. But the other sin, which has to do with the sin against ourselves, the sin against your own self. This has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with your neighbor, but yourself. The Bible says is the sin of fornication and adultery. Any form of sexual sin is actually a sin against yourself. And the Bible records that every sin that a man sins, he sins it outside the body. But the sin of fornication is a sin against your own self. And not just against your own self. He said that sin, according to the book of Proverbs, will reduce a man's glory to the price of a loaf of a bread. It will reduce a man's glory to the price of a loaf of a bread. And I don't want to even experience that, because that is dangerous. And so let's quickly look at presumption. Psalm 19, verse 12 to 15 to 14. Who can discern his errors? Forgive my hidden faults. Forgive my secret faults. Keep your servant also from willful sins. May they not rule over me. That word willful in King James speaks of presumption sin. Then will I be blameless, innocent of the great transgression. Now said, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. How many times have you concluded about a matter that you know nothing of? Presumptuousness have destroyed great relationship, because some people are quick to judge. Some even go as far as letting you feel like, I know his motive. I know his motive. I know why he did what he did. You know, a friend of mine sent me something on WhatsApp just before this broadcast on a Zoom, the danger of assumption. And he said he attended a particular meeting, and then when he got there, he saw some elders, he was greeting all of them, and then he got to this particular elder that was almost at the tail end. He shook and he stretched forth his hand to the elder. The elder was looking at him, and the elder did not even raise up his hand to shake him. He was a stranger in that place because there was something that happened, so he just went there to visit. All the other people that he stretched forth his hand towards, they all shook his hand. He said, so he went to sit, feeling bitter. How can he just ignore me like that? And all of those stuff. And then the eyes of the elder was watching. And it's as if his head was still moving, like as if he was seeing. Only for him to realize that the elder was actually blind. That anyone that wants to greet him, they will first and foremost tap him. When they tap him, then they will stretch forth their hand, and then he will stretch forth his hand and greet them. And they can now say to them, oh, he's so person. Then he will laugh and then talk. He said he felt so bad. Why? He had concluded that the man actually ignored him out of pride or whatever it is. And this is one of the major sins that a lot of us sin. You don't know what the person is going through. Maybe the person promised you money, that you should come tomorrow, you will settle some things, and then you call the person. Maybe 1 hour before your call, something had happened, and then the person couldn't pick your call. The person couldn't respond, and then you concluded that I know you will do this. You know, man is always lying and all of those stuff. And then you had opportunity, you started slandering the person's name everywhere, not knowing that an hour before you came, the person had just been hit by a tornado of challenge. A tornado of challenge that if you see the person, you also will raise up your head to want to help the person. I believe that in this series that we are going through, God is going to be helping us. The danger of presumptuousness. Now may the words of your mouth, may the meditation of your heart be acceptable in the sight of the Lord. And may God deliver each and every one of us from everything that represents presumptuousness in whatever form. In Jesus' precious name. I am your prophetic voice, the watchman, Kingsley Ifeanyi. God bless you. See you in our next series.